Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Dr. Misty here. Sorry, I'm having a little trouble with my computer, so I'm a couple minutes over. But for those of you who are ready to get rolling, I'm again Dr. Misty, and we're going to talk today about some top 3 protocols that are going to help you to reduce inches on your waist, to lose weight, as well as reduce gas or bloating. Some of us may have actually either more weight gain or feel bloating and have an increase in pant size because of that. So this is a big complaint, especially with women who are wanting to lose weight. And so I wanted to address some of the top things that you guys can do to help yourselves reduce that weight and reduce bloating and gas, because it can be really uncomfortable. And besides the uncomfortable and embarrassing aspect of it, it can be really frustrating because from what I hear from my patients and my knowledge and what I'm reading, it's one of those things that everybody's different, and a lot of people more than anything get frustrated at what is going to trigger that the gas and bloating. They're unsure what it might be caused by, what foods it might be from, what's making it worse, what's making it better. Everything seems to be on more of a yo-yo type of situation. And if this sounds like you, then you may be suffering from a condition called SIBO, or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Okay, and this is definitely something that I wanted to address with you guys that may not be well known. So in our small intestines, in our large intestines is supposed to be what houses the most of our bacteria is our large intestines, but our small intestines should not have as much bacteria. So we have regular bacteria that should be in there. That's called the commensal bacteria, okay? But then we also have what could be pathogenic bacteria, okay? And so an overproduction of bacteria, which can be from antibiotic use, Crohn's disease, and gut destructive intake, whether it's, you have some sort of disease of autoimmunity, Crohn's disease, celiac disease, gut destructive diseases, or you've just had gut breakdown over time. And especially with the uses of antibiotics, more intestines, the more you have destruction, the more your good bacteria gets wiped out, and the more chance that fungi, parasites, and pathogenic bacteria has to get in there and colonize in your GI tract. Okay, so it's important for you guys to know that the bacteria in your intestines is really important, and it helps to produce vitamins. It helps to produce sometimes short chain fatty acids. It helps to produce things that our body needs. So having it's important. But if it's too much, and if it's too much of the wrong type of bacteria, what can happen is you can get methane and hydrogen production. Okay, so hydrogen production is typical of bacteria. Okay, so if you're getting a lot more hydrogen production, if you have a lot more bacteria in your gut, you're going to have a higher amount of hydrogen production in your gut. And so what happens is, if you have, again, too much good bacteria or bad bacteria, you're going to produce a lot more hydrogen gas, right? Hydrogen gas bubbles. On top of that, you're also, if you have a specific type of bacteria, archaea, that are in your GI tract, those can actually consume the hydrogen and create more of what's called methane, and which is the gas bubbles. So if you're somebody who consistently is eating things that are high in fiber, you have IBS or irritable bowel, you have constipation, things that you're having some of those symptoms I was talking about, you have difficulty losing weight, this could be a possibility why. Okay, so you might have an overgrowth of these bacteria in your gut. Now, again, this isn't for diagnostic purposes. This is to help you with whatever you may be experiencing at home. If you do feel like you might have something like this, you can always contact me and reach out to a gastrointestinal health expert as well, and go into the process of learning and treating that. But if you are somebody who already knows you experience this, or general public who can, you want to try some of these protocols, I'm happy to share them with you. Okay, so knowing that the bacteria produce hydrogen, and then other types of pathogenic bacteria that actually consume the hydrogen and produce methane to produce, which is basically gas, and that causes a lot more bloating. So the moral of the story is the more bacteria that we have in our small intestine, and especially the more pathogenic bacteria that we have, the more gas production that can happen. Okay, so we really want to work on reduction of the pathogenic bacteria and cleaning up our gut microbiota. Okay, and how we do that, and typically my first recommendation for patient is certainly diet. Okay, what are we eating in our diet? Now, a diet high in carbohydrates will typically produce more methane, because what happens is if there's your bacteria is, again, it's producing hydrogen. Fermented foods are going to get broken down eventually into methane. Okay, so the more carbohydrates that you have that aren't either getting absorbed, they're going to be fermented in your gut, and then they're going to be basically turned into gas. Okay, so the first recommendation is to try and reduce carbohydrate intake, try and overcome that ratio. Sometimes paleo diet is really helpful. I'm a big fan of that. Ketogenic diet, basically trying to remove grains from the diet, is going to be extremely helpful, not only because of the carbohydrate aspect, but because of the fiber aspect. The fiber aspect, if you're somebody who has IBS or IBD, or the bloating and things like that, you can you should be reducing a certain amount of insoluble fiber, which is typically found in grains, right? So the soluble fiber too in certain fruits and things like that, but the insoluble fiber and the fiber that is coming from grains is going to help to produce more of that gas, okay, especially if it gets undigested. So again, carbohydrate reduction in the diet. To start out with, I would reduce from what's typical in a 2,000 calorie diet is around 65%. I would start reducing that down to 40, do a 40-40 ratio with fat and 20% protein. Okay, so upping the higher mono unsaturated fats, healthy fats, oils, avocados, nuts, seeds, things like that. The second thing that I would do was to do a specific type of probiotic. Now, I know this sounds silly because you're saying, okay, we don't want an overgrowth of bacteria, but you're going to add more bacteria to the gut. Okay, but for this, again, you want especially the pathogenic bacteria is going to be the methane producer. So we want to get that. We want to change the microbiota of our GI tract. Okay, so the ones lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, they're specific ones. Those are the most common. What you would want to do is the ones for bifidobacteria is infantis and breve. That is spelled INFANTIS, and breve is BREVE. The lactobacillus one would be Platyrum rhamnosus and salivarius. Okay, so if you're looking for a good probiotic, which should be refrigerated, it should be at least 15 billion organisms. I would actually get one potentially without FOS in it, which is fructose oligosaccharide. Again, that carbohydrate that helps. That's good if you have just been on an antibiotic, because it helps to flourish and feed the bacteria. So that's more if you have less bacteria in your gut. You want to probably stay away from ones that have FOS in it. And the other compound I would recommend people taking is actually berberine. So again, this is something you want to clear with your physician. I don't ever recommend people to start taking supplements unless they have cleared it with your physician that knows your medication list and your background. But this is such a great go-to for small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, because it helps to wipe out some of those pathogenic bacteria that are causing those methane actions. Okay, so again, berberine, the probiotic with the lactobacillus and the bifidobacter, those two types, the infantis and breve, and then the rhamnosus, the plantarum, and the salivarius. are the ones that you want to focus on. Reducing carbohydrates, fibers, and fermented foods. So you see me sometimes post about kombucha. Kombucha is really, really great, not if you have SIBO. Okay, so and bone broth, same thing. So we want to reduce fermented types of foods, okay, because that's going to create more. So just by doing that, that will actually shrink some of your the amount of methane and hydrogen being produced that's causing that bloating, as well as reduce weight, because let's face it, and this is one of the reasons I lost a lot of weight too, is because I started doing and cleaning up gut health a lot, and reducing that carbohydrate, fat and protein ratio. That really makes a difference. Removing grains from the diet is huge. That is something, that helps a lot of people lose weight. Not only that, but carbohydrates tend to actually pull water into the cell. Glucose is a hydrator. So glucose will pull more water into the cell, which will create also more of that bloating feeling. So those are my biggest suggestions for people who are really wanting to lose weight, feel better in their pants. I know how uncomfortable that is to have those types of symptoms, and it can be embarrassing throughout the day, and it can be just downright uncomfortable, right? So I hope that helps you. I hope that gives you some value. Comment below with any questions. I appreciate you guys watching today, and share with your friends if you find this valuable. And I will see you next time. Don't forget to comment below with questions, and I'll address them on the next live. Thanks so much.